It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. Welcome to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. And for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, this is where we talk about all things residential real estate here on this program. And what I like to do is I like to take national, regional, local news, what's going on in our market, and then couple that with my experience as someone that's been in the top 1% of this market for several years now, to help you better understand real estate and to help you make some informed decisions, whether you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or you just like to stay up to date with information. This is the resource for you. So if there's anything I can do for you, I am a real estate agent, of course, Monday to Sunday. And if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, whether it be just answering a simple question, or maybe you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, I invite you to give me a call personally. My cell phone number is 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or you can visit me online. You can go to www.listingsincharleston.com, and on that website, you can take a look at everything I have for sale, everything I've sold. You can search the MLS. Everything for sale in the Tri-County area is available on that website, and you can learn more about me. And if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale, and you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I will sell your house in 2 months or less, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to for that. Let me give you an idea of what I want to talk about over the next hour here. June is a very special month here in Charleston because it kicks off hurricane season in Charleston. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the potential impact of a hurricane on our real estate market. There was an interesting article that came out from Post and Courier a little earlier in the week that I want to dive into. I want to talk about some legal issues that real estate agents face on a consistent basis. Really dive deep into that a little later on in the program. We'll talk about discount brokerages, reduced commissions, what that means if you're thinking about selling your house, how that impacts you. And then lastly, we're going to talk about what I think is going to happen the second half of the year here in our real estate market. We're going to talk about the multiple offers that we continue to see, the lack of listing inventory, price increases, all of that fun stuff. So that's what I've got planned for this next hour. And I'll also tell you that I'm in the studio and would love the opportunity to speak with you. If you have a question, comment, concern, or you want to share a story, the number here in the studio is 843-556-1250, 843-556-1250. So feel free to call in at any point in time during the program. Happy to take your call, answer your questions. So, as I mentioned, June kicks off the hurricane season here in Charleston. It goes from June 1st to November 30th. And Post and Courier put out an interesting article, I think on Wednesday of this week, talking about the impact that a hurricane would have on the Charleston market and of course, South Carolina as well, along the coast. Basically, we're looking at somewhere between 6 and 11 named storms this year, with 2 possibly morphing into major hurricanes. They say it's going to be a somewhat mild hurricane season here in Charleston, but you never know. Obviously, the last big hurricane we had was Hurricane Hugo, which did an incredible amount of damage to our area. This report was really interesting because it says if a major hurricane hit the Charleston metro area, it would impact about 112,000 homes and would do an estimated $28.1 billion worth of damage. Now, if we get hit along the entire South Carolina coast, that would include 308,000 homes for a total of $70 billion in damage. That's a lot of money. Remember, Hurricane Sandy a few years ago, I think 3 years ago at this point, did almost $70 billion worth of damage. So those are obviously some very frightening numbers. And the reason that I'm telling you all of this is to help you all prepare for this season and maybe use this as an opportunity to reach out to your insurance agent, educate yourself on your policy, ask some questions, and see if you're protected. I think one of the things that is really important to buyers for some reason is to pay the lowest amount of insurance possible on their house on an annual basis. And I totally understand that point. It's important for you to save money where you can. At the same time, however, the lowest premium possible might not always be what's within your best interest. Insurance is there for a reason, is to protect your home in the event something like a hurricane or fire or earthquake or whatever the cause might be were to impact your personal residence. Now, these numbers that I gave you, the $28 billion for the Charleston metro area and the $70 billion for the South Carolina coast, those are replacement costs. That is not fair market value of the real estate. That's just the replacement cost. That's how much it would cost to repair or to rebuild those structures. Oh, and by the way, that report does not include things like multifamily properties or things like that. We're talking about houses. Okay. Now, they did say that this was a report put out by CoreLogic, by the way, which is a great company that puts out real estate-based information. And they said that in the Charleston area, there are 42,000 homes that lie in a quote-unquote extreme risk zone, meaning that it doesn't matter what level of hurricane we experience, those houses in some way, shape, or form should be impacted in a negative way. 42,000 homes in the Charleston area. That's a lot of real estate. Now, obviously, if a hurricane hit our market, real estate, for all intents and purposes, is going to hit a standstill, which would be a huge shame because we are making some record-breaking numbers. We're posting some record-breaking numbers this year as far as our real estate market is concerned. We really are in a hot real estate market. And I know a lot of real estate agents always like to say, man, the market's so great, it's so hot, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, it really is the truth. This year, we are just kicking butt as far as the real estate market goes. Now, the other thing to understand with regard to insurance is that as of April 1st this year, when flood insurance policyholders go to renew their policies, you could be looking at increases in premiums from 15% to 18% if it's your primary residence and up to 25% if it's a second home or investment property. The other thing that's going to happen April 1st is that you're going to now have to pay something called a surcharge. $25 if it's your primary residence and $250 for everything else. And this is going to impact about 1 million flood insurance policyholders nationwide out of about the 5 million or so flood insurance policies that are out there. This is a result of the implementation of the Homeowner Flood Insurance Affordability Act, it was basically passed last year by Congress to combat the price increases that were made by the Biggert Waters 2012 legislation. We all can remember, hopefully, going back a year, 2 years, 3 years, when we were talking about flood insurance premiums going from $2,000 to $20,000. There were all of these examples of crazy high flood insurance premiums. And so it's just important for you guys to know that if you go to renew your flood insurance policy, you might be looking at an increase in the amount that you're going to pay. The reason that they're doing this is because the National Flood Insurance Program essentially has stated that people are just, the break that they're getting on their flood insurance premiums does not cover the actual rate of risk associated with properties in flood-prone areas. The Hurricane Katrina and then Superstorm Sandy put the National Flood Insurance Program in debt by like $25 billion. They didn't have enough premium to cover the cost associated with those major catastrophes. So why am I telling you all of this? It's important for you as a buyer in this market to not get caught up with the drama associated with being in a multiple offer situation and having to make an offer right now and having to act before you think. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this program, is to make sure that y'all are educated and to make sure that I'm giving you some realistic expectations about our market and to help protect you and protect the public by way of information. So think about what's going on our market right now. A property that's well priced, in good condition, and in a desirable location is going to sell very, very fast. In some cases, it will sell immediately with multiple offers. I was just in one this week. They had 6 offers day one. And it was a well-priced house. It wasn't like it was a foreclosure or a short sale or anything. It was just nice house, good condition, nice neighborhood. They had like 20 showings in 2 days. It was crazy. But going back to this flood insurance thing, the reason that I'm telling you this is I want you to take this as an opportunity or a call to action to call your insurance agent. Go over your policy with them, educate yourself on the policy, some of the changes that have been made this year, and make sure that you have the proper coverage. The things that you might need to think about are something like, have you made improvements to your home that your insurance agent doesn't know about? That's a really big deal. There are a lot of people out there that are making renovations, additions, sometimes at a very large scale. And if your insurance agent doesn't know about that, will that be insured if you have some sort of large claim? Something to ask your agent. Something else that's important. Is your replacement cost accurate? Replacement cost is determined by how much it would cost to repair or rebuild your property in the event of a major claim. Make sure that the replacement cost they have for your house is accurate. Again, if you've done a large-scale renovation on your house, your replacement cost might not be what is needed to put your house back in the exact same condition. So there's a few questions for you. There's something else I think that's important to ask your insurance agent is that, are there things in your policy that you don't need that you might be able to save money on? Again, it's important to try and save money where you can, but it's also important to have the right coverage. There are sometimes things in insurance policies that you don't necessarily need, or you might be paying twice for. A classic example of that would be identity theft. Some insurance policies have identity theft included in it, but if you pay for any sort of program that protects your identity, then you're double paying. You can take that out of your insurance policy, save a little money that way. The other thing you need to ask them is, are there some discounts that you might be eligible for? Things like alarm systems, newer windows, things like that. Ask your insurance agent where you can save money, either through discounts or removing certain things from your policy, while also maintaining the proper amount of coverage so that in the event, worst case scenario, something happened to your house, you have the proper amount of coverage. It's important for us as real estate agents, when we make an offer on a property through our clients, to make sure that our clients have that information up front. I think a lot of agents just ask the classic question, how much do you pay in insurance? It's obviously sounds like a very fair question to ask. Sellers will tell agents, well, we pay $2,000 a year in home and hazard insurance, and we pay $500 a year in flood insurance. And then boom, the buyer or the real estate agent takes that at face value. They don't investigate that. They make an offer. And if the contract doesn't protect the buyer in the event they find out that insurance is actually going to be higher, or they have very limited coverage, then that buyer is in a potentially precarious situation. So it's important for us as real estate agents to make sure that we're asking the right questions, we're crossing our T's, we're dotting our I's, and we're making sure that we're protecting our client from unforeseen expenses. So I want you all to take this as an opportunity to sometime next week, don't bug them over the weekend, but sometime next week, call your insurance agent and just say, hey, I just want to have a 10, 15-minute chat with you about my insurance policy or policies if you own multiple properties. I just want to make sure that we've got the proper amount of coverage. I want to get a little bit of an education on what I'm paying for, what are my deductibles, so on and so forth. Okay? So please take that as an opportunity to call your insurance agent. I can't stress it enough. When we come back, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to talk about some legal issues that real estate agents face on a recurring basis. We're going to dive deep into that. Again, if you have questions, feel free to call into the studio, 843-556-1250, or contact me online, listingsincharleston.com. We'll be right back. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thank you very much for joining me this beautiful Saturday morning as we discuss all things real estate here in the Charleston area. We are in the studio live taking your questions, calls, comments, concerns, complaints. Any question you have, feel free to call us in the studio. The number here, 843-556-1250. Yeah, the number in the studio, 843-556-1250. And if you'd like to reach out to me personally, you have some questions that you have that you'd like to have a private conversation with me about, obviously no charge for just having a discussion with me. If there's anything I can do to help you out, or if you're considering hiring me as a real estate agent, I invite you to go online, visit my website, listingsincharleston.com, where you can search the MLS, look at what I have for sale, what I've sold, learn more about my background. And if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my marketing, and you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee, which essentially states that I will sell your home in 2 months or less, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to for that. So what I want to talk about now are legal issues that real estate agents typically face. And it's no surprise that our industry is at times riddled with real estate agents that push the boundaries a little bit when it comes to things like misrepresentation or claiming the number of sales that they've had or being the number one real estate agent, so on and so forth. There are a lot of issues that we as an industry need to overcome. And in my opinion, and I've been very clear about this in the close to 3 years that I've been on this radio program, our industry needs to really step it up a notch. We need to be of better service to the public. We need to increase our worth, our value, so that people don't look at us like the used cars salesman. We really need to work on our image, and that's only going to come through education to the public, protecting the public's best interest, and making sure that we're operating on a high professional level. So let's get into this. The number one lawsuit that real estate agents faced on a consistent basis, over 50%, is misrepresentation. Misrepresentation basically comes in three forms: innocent representation, negligent misrepresentation, and fraudulent misrepresentation. Now, of course, you can guess what innocent misrepresentation is, but negligent misrepresentation includes things like a failure to disclose significant property flaws out of ignorance, whereas fraudulent misrepresentation is purposefully hiding a property flaw or feature to make the sale. Misrepresentation is something, obviously, that's very, very serious. We use something called the South Carolina Property Condition Disclosure Statement to try and avoid this. When you're a seller and you sell a property, you have to fill out this disclosure form, which is 5 pages, by the way, and it asks you every little nook and cranny about your house, your property, so on and so forth, to make sure that you're disclosing anything that you might know about your property, whether it's right or wrong. If you've had issues with your property, if you know that there's an easement in your backyard, whatever the case might be, those are things that you as the seller needs to disclose. This is not a form that a real estate agent can help you fill out because we need to stay out of it. This is an opportunity for the seller to disclose to the buyer what's going on with their property to avoid a lawsuit down the road. However, there are plenty of real estate agents, I hate to say it, that will fill out these forms for their clients, ask them to sign it. That's not the way it should be done. That is not good. So we use the South Carolina Residential Property Condition Disclosure Statement to avoid this issue as real estate agents, but it's incredibly important that you are giving a true representation of what's right and wrong about your house. So that's the number one lawsuit among real estate agents, is the misrepresentation. Something else, breach of fiduciary duties. Now, this could be something like not disclosing that you represent both parties. We've got two different types of agency. Essentially, we've got single agency, which is if I represent a seller and John Doe from ABC Real Estate Company at a different company represents the buyer, that's single agency. Dual agency would be where I represent both parties to the transaction. I represent both the buyer and the seller. There's a modified form of that called designated agency, where another agent within my office or company would also represent one of the other parties to the transaction. That's called designated agency. But the point here is that you have to disclose that to both buyer and seller, because in those types of agency relationships, my ability to help that client becomes limited. If I'm in dual agency, I can't tell a seller how much the buyer is willing to pay, and I certainly can't tell the buyer how low the seller is willing to go to make a deal. I can't be a sleazy businessman and say, hey, well, let's just pin these two people against each other. Let me get information from you and give it to you and so on and so forth, because all I care about is the commission, right? Dual agency has very strict guidelines. Designated agency has very strict guidelines on how the real estate agent is to operate in those types of relationships. Yet sometimes people don't disclose that they represent both parties to the transactions. Not good. Something else that, I don't know if we face it a lot. I have personally faced it, is fair housing. Obviously, we cannot discriminate on whom we show a property to or to whom a buyer or seller does business with based on those protected classes. I will tell you a quick story, though. I had a client a few years ago. I was selling his house. We had it on the market for a few months. It was not in a good area. It was in an area of North Charleston where there was crime. There was drug dealers that were kind of walking the street. Paint the picture of a dangerous neighborhood in North Charleston. That's essentially what this listing was. And so the seller came to me and they said, Brian, what we're doing isn't working. What I want you to do is I want you to come up with some creative ways to market this home to the black community. The buyer that's going to purchase this home is more than likely going to be black, so I want you to target those buyers. That's the person that's going to buy this house. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't hone in on one specific race and say that, hey, you're the perfect buyer for this house because of the color of your skin. They said, well, I'm sorry, then if you don't have access to buyers that are black, then we're going to hire a black realtor that works with that type of person. And I said, I wish you all the best. I cannot in any way, shape, or form entertain that idea, and I really don't want to have this conversation, which was a shame because this was a client that has been a client of mine for a while, but this came out of left field, and I said, look, we can't do business together if this is the way that we're going to operate. Sorry. We released him from the contract. He moved on. I moved on. I actually haven't talked to him since. That was not a good situation. But obviously, with regard to fair housing, you cannot discriminate by race, sex, religion, all of those protected classes. The only thing that I can do as a real estate agent is make sure that whoever is looking at your house has the ability to buy it. If they're a pre-approved, ready, willing, and able buyer, we will show it to them. It doesn't matter who they are, what they do. Their money is as green as the next person. Number 4 on this list is antitrust. Something that doesn't really happen a lot in this market, but it's a common threat among real estate agents in saying something like, I'm never going to do business with that company ever again, or I'm never going to do business with that agent ever again because he's a competitor of mine, so on and so forth. If a real estate agent has said, I am never going to do business with ABC Real Estate Company, and they don't notify their client of their decision to not work with those types of people, then that's a serious issue. Obviously, they need to be forthcoming and disclose that, hey, I've had issues with this company. Here's my story. It's up to you as to whether we work with them or not me as your real estate agent. Now, this next one is probably the most common thing that you'll see, and that's false or misleading advertising. Think about all of the websites that you can go on and read about how that particular real estate agent is the number one real estate agent. It's always fascinating to me, the number of real estate agents in our market that are number one. There's, I don't know, there's probably dozens of them. Isn't that interesting? There's only one number one. And it's not the Ricky Bobby mentality of if you're not first, you're last. So I think real estate agents have this idea that if I don't put that I'm the number one something on my website, then I'm not going to get the business. Absolutely 100% not true. But we have all of these real estate agents that inflate the number of homes that they sell a year. They're ranking in our number of real estate agents in our market. It's just, if you're a buyer or a seller and something like that is important to you, then ask for proof. Ask for them to source the number of homes that they've sold by having them print out the number of homes they've sold. It's amazing to me the number of real estate agents that say, I've sold hundreds or thousands of homes, and they haven't. So obviously, if you're a buyer or seller, fact check. It's something that's really important to me when I go on listing presentations, because when I'm up against other real estate agents competing for the same business and they've told them a story It's not my job to discredit that agent. It's my job to make sure that that seller is empowered to ask the questions they need to ask to make sure that if they get into a relationship with somebody, that it's the right relationship for them based on true and accurate information. So that's number 5, is false or misleading advertising. Going down the list a little bit more, environmental issues. A lot of the properties in downtown Charleston that are older might have lead-based paint, or they might have asbestos, or they might have something going on with the property that's an environmental concern. And obviously, if you're a seller and you know about that, you need to disclose it. Lead-based paint stopped being used in 1978. So anything prior to 1978, you have to fill out a separate disclosure form called a lead-based paint disclosure form. Now, the majority of people have no idea whether or not there's lead-based paint in a property, and all you do is just say that, I don't know if there's lead-based paint or not, but it's your job, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, to investigate that if it's important to you. And I'll tell you that one of the last things that kind of gets me on an ethical level with regard to real estate is just not disclosing certain types of information. And I think that a lot of this comes into play during multiple offer situations. So let's just think of an example really quickly. If I'm a listing agent and I'm working with a buyer that makes an offer on my property, and another offer comes in from another real estate agent, obviously it's my job as the listing agent to present all offers. I cannot in any way, shape, or form tell the seller, hey, take this offer over that offer, or maybe not even disclose that offer exists at all, but I have to disclose all offers. I have to make sure that I am promoting my client's best interest. But sometimes you have real estate agents that won't present offers, or they'll say, well, you know what, don't even send your offer along because we're pretty much under contract already. And that might be an instance where that real estate agent is representing both parties to the transaction to get double commission. Those are very bad situations to be in as a real estate agent, because you're essentially lying to your client, or you're not telling them the truth. Maybe you're not lying, but you're certainly not telling them everything that they need to know in an effort to promote their best interests. And then on that similar page would be telling people that there are offers when none exist to increase the offer amount that they give you. I think that there are plenty of buyers that get into situations where they find out that there's another offer on the table, but those listing agents don't have to disclose what that offer is for. They don't have to show a copy of that offer. So you never truly know whether a real estate agent is telling you the truth or not when it comes to a multiple offer situation. Now, I'll tell you that I would think that 99.9% of the time, if an agent tells you that there are multiple offers, then it's true. But I have been in a situation personally where I was told there was another offer on the table and found out later that there wasn't. And that was not a good situation. So there are all kinds of legal and ethical issues that real estate agents face on a day-to-day basis. And it's important for you as the client, whether you're considering buying or selling, to ask them those very specific questions. Have you ever been in an ethical dispute? Have you ever been in a lawsuit related to real estate? If so, tell me that story so I can make an informed decision. And then ask them those specific questions if they're important to you about, if you're claiming that you've sold 200 homes, show me the facts, show me the data, and great. I think that's fantastic that you've sold that many homes, but if you're lying, that's a big problem. And unfortunately, real estate agents like to stretch the truth. So just make sure you're protecting yourself. When we come back, we're going to talk about a few other things. We're going to talk about what I think is going to happen the second half of the year here in the Charleston real estate market. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Again, call into the studio 556-1250 with your questions and visit me online, listingsincharleston.com. We'll be right back.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA.
Now, The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. This is the point in the program where I just like to say thank you for all of those that tune in and listen to my program and then contact me with your real estate needs, whether it be a simple question or you're looking for representation to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So if you have any questions, comments, you'd like to work with me to help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate, give me a call personally. My phone number is 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or go online. Visit my website, listingsincharleston.com, where you can take a look at everything I have for sale, everything I've sold, learn more about me, read some testimonials, and if you're thinking about selling your house, which is what we're going to talk about right now, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale, and you can also submit information to learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I will sell your house in 2 months or less, or I will sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to for that. So let's talk for a little while about discount brokers, brokers that advertise a reduced commission or that reduce their commission at the point in which they sign a listing agreement with you, and what you actually get in return for that discount commission. Now, of course, people want a deal on everything, right? They want the best possible service for the least amount of money. And I think what we're really talking about is value. They want the best value possible. And I have a saying that I use when I coach my real estate agents on my team, because I operate a team of real estate agents. And I say that you can't appreciate the value of a professional until you pay the price of hiring an amateur. And similarly, you can't truly appreciate victory without defeat. Now, I want my agents and I want us to be the answer basically to our clients' housing problems. You know, their home didn't sell, they can't buy a house because they're getting sold before they're made aware of them, they're losing multiple offer situations, they experience bad communication, bad service, lackluster marketing, you know, whatever the case might be. A good portion of people that have bought or sold a home before have likely had some sort of mediocre at best or bad experience with a real estate agent, either representing them or on the other side of the table. And so for me, I strive to make sure that our clients appreciate our value by saving them time, stress, and money. Money is a big one. That's why people ask for a reduced commission in the first place, to save money. But again, this is a conversation that goes a little deeper than that, because it's about value associated with that amount of money. And now, you have some people that will never pay a full 6% commission, which is a standard. Yet you have real estate agents that are charging 9% commission. There are agents out there that are charging 9% commission, and they're getting away with it. I think it's nuts. If I were if I were a seller, I'm sorry, I don't see any value in a 9% commission when I could go and hire one of the top agents in town and pay them what's standard. But they're always going to beat up people over the commission, whether it's at the time the listing agreement is signed, when it comes time to reduce the price because the home hasn't sold, make repairs, whatever the case might be, the list goes on. Because for some of these sellers, the easiest place to go to save money is to the agent and say, will you reduce your commission? The question is that fair to the real estate agent? Well, I'm going to let you decide, because it's a function of the value that real estate agent gives their client. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. I had a property that went under contract with multiple offers in literally one day. It was previously on the market for 9 months. Did not receive an offer. And the reason it didn't receive an offer, in my opinion, was because the agent that was hired was a discount broker that basically put it on the MLS, took a bunch of pictures with their iPhone, put a sign in the yard, and then waited for the real estate agents to show it. They had poor customer service. Their communication really was really bad. I wanted to use a different word, but I stopped myself. And the marketing was just not there. I mean, pictures with an iPhone. I feel like I talk about this all the time on this program, but my God, if I see another listing for $500,000 where the real estate agent took photos with their phone, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going crazy over it. It's just ridiculous. But back to this story, the reason that we were able to do that was because of the process that we implement when we put properties on the market for sale. It starts way before we officially list the property on the MLS. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens when you're working with a true professional that understands marketing. But what do you get when you hire a discount broker? Basically, you get access to the MLS. You get some photos that either you, the seller, took yourself or that they took with their own camera. They're not going to pay for professional photography. You get a sign in the yard, and then you get other agents that tramps through your house, whether they're interested or not, and then maybe at some point in time you get an offer. My goal as a listing agent is to set the right expectation with regard to what's going on in our market and what I truly feel we can accomplish in the sale, and then to do everything that I say I'm going to do from a marketing perspective to make sure that we establish and enhance all of the attributes of your home, of your neighborhood, of your area that I think a buyer might find valuable, and then enhance that through a ridiculous amount of marketing to make sure that no matter where a buyer is looking, they're going to find your house and it's going to look professionally presented. It's going to have a nice description. It's going to have a virtual tour. It's going to have professional photography. You'll be on hundreds, if not thousands of websites. We leave no stone unturned when it comes to marketing, because that, in my opinion, is what drives the traffic and is what creates the opportunity for me as a listing agent to turn an online shopper into a qualified, ready, willing, and able buyer. But when you hire a discount broker, you really need to ask yourself, is it worth it to save X amount of money in order to go through that process? I will tell you that I just bought and sold a home, and there is no such thing as a stress-free transaction. Even for me, a real estate agent that has done hundreds of transactions, on pace to, I think we're already at 85 transactions for the year, it was a stressful time. I needed to take a step back for a moment and really understand what was important about this whole process rather than get caught up in the stress and the drama and emotion associated with buying and selling real estate. When you hire a discount broker that doesn't necessarily care about offering top-level service because they've already discounted the amount of money they're going to make and they're 1 foot out the door, sometimes you don't get that advice, you don't get that representation when you need it the most. So if you're thinking about selling your house and you want to save some money, ask the real estate agent how they help you save money through the value that they provide by way of experience, market knowledge, and their ability to negotiate, and hopefully sell your home for more money than their competitors because of the marketing that they do. I'm telling you right now, it's possible to sell your home for more money in a shorter amount of time and pay a 6% commission than saving money through a discount broker that's basically just going to do the bare minimum to market your home for sale. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, so what? Their goal is just to get as many listings as possible, throw them on the MLS, and then at some point, one of them will sell and they make a little bit of money. That's not the way to go about doing things. So if you have questions about what I do to market my properties for sale, go online, listingsincharleston.com, or give me a call personally, 843-345-1273. We'll dive really deep into what I do differently and how I think that's of value to you, the seller. When we take a break and come back, we're going to talk about what's going to happen the second half of the year in the Charleston real estate market. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Again, call into the studio. We've got a few minutes left. 556-1250 is the number here. Take a break. We'll be right back. Thanks again for tuning in. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks again for tuning in as we finish up this hour talking all things real estate here in the Lowcountry. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to reach out to me personally, my cell phone number is 345-1273, 843-345-1273, or you can go online, listingsincharleston.com, submit your information on the contact page if you're considering hiring a real estate agent, and I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about myself and how I think I might be able to help. I want to finish off this program by giving you an update of where we are and then talking about what I think is going to happen in the second half of 2015 with regard to our real estate market. I said earlier in the program, as I've been saying basically all year, that our market is hot. It really is. It's a fantastic market. There's a lot of energy. And if you're a seller, wow, what a great time to think about putting your house on the market. Let me just give you some stats here. based on where we are at the end of May, if I look at the number of new listings that have hit the market, we've had a little over 10,000 new listings hit the market this year. Last year at this point in time, we were at a little over 9,000. So we've basically had about 1,000 more listings hit the market this year than last year, but we've sold 1,000 more homes this year than we did last year. The big kicker is pending sales. We have almost 8,000 properties that are pending or going under contract right now that are going to sell at some point. Last year, this time we had 6,200. That's a 27% increase in homes that are now under contract. If we look at things like days on market, on average, it's taking 69 days to sell your house versus 85 days last year. The average sales price across the Tri-County area is $303,000. Last year, it was $293,000 as of the end of May. And then here are the really interesting numbers, for me at least. The number of homes available for sale right now in Charleston, Dorchester, and Berkeley County is under 5,000, 4,986 homes as of this morning. Why is that number important? If you think back a few years ago, we had 12,000 homes available for sale. We're almost at a third of what we were. That is incredible. Now, if we look at months supply of inventory, which as real estate agents, we use months supply of inventory to essentially measure the health of a real estate market. We say that a balanced market is between 6 to 8 months worth of inventory. That means you take the total number of homes that are available for sale and you divide it by the average number of homes that sell on a monthly basis. Last year in May, we had 6 months supply, which was just on the cusp of a seller's market. Now, at the end of July, we're at 4.2 months supply of inventory. That is definitely, without a doubt, no questions asked, a seller's market in the majority of the Tri-County area. So if you're thinking about selling your house, we are in an environment now where prices are rising, essentially across the board in the majority of markets, price ranges, areas in Charleston. So it's a good time for you to take a look at what your house is worth. You might be surprised at what you can get for your house. And for those of you that purchased at the height of the market several years ago, and you've been holding on, you've been fighting tooth and nail to make your payments, and you've been waiting for your equity to get back to a point where you can sell your home, I'm telling you that now might be the time for you to do that. So if there's anybody out there listening that just wants a free valuation on their home, I'm happy to provide it to them. It's something as simple as sending you comps in your neighborhood with an analysis attached. Or, of course, if you want a more detailed number, it just requires me walking through the house for 10 minutes to give you that information. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to for that. Let me give you an idea of what I think is going to happen the second half of this year. And I'm just going to kind of spit all this out because we've only got a few minutes left. But number one, inventory is not keeping pace with the number of motivated buyers in our market. Inventory continues to be an issue. As a result, prices are increasing and will continue to increase through the second half of the year. Listings that hit the market in some areas of Charleston are receiving multiple offers almost immediately. I anticipate that being the same throughout the year. I don't see that changing. Sellers, again, if you're thinking about selling your market, take advantage of the dynamics of this market and list your home, but list it at the right price and don't neglect some of the things that need to happen in order to put your home in good condition. It's easy in a seller's market to overprice your house or to not do some of the things that you should do to prepare your home for sale. Don't get caught in that trap. Make sure that you're still being diligent about the things that you need to do to prepare you and your home for success. What's going to happen with interest rates? I think they're going to rise. Every report that I read says that interest rates are going to rise, and they've actually risen a little bit over the past month or so. They've ticked up a little bit. I anticipate a continued lack of inventory, and I see that first-time home buyers are still struggling, but we really need in our market for first-time home buyers to step up to the plate and buy some property because investors are on the way out. They've been on the way out for quite a while. That's what happens when you have increases in pricing. Investors can't make the spread that they can make in a down market, so they go elsewhere. They put their money in other things. The other thing that I see happening is realtors are continuing to enter our market. So they're getting back into the business. Maybe it was tough when they were in back in 2008 to 2011. So they got out. Now they're getting back in. There's nothing wrong with that as long as they're educated and they're of value to their clients. So if you're thinking about hiring a real estate agent, Remember to ask them those questions that are important to you and interview them. I can't stress enough to interview the agent, and don't fall into the trap of just working with the first agent that you come across, because believe it or not, we are different. So that's what I think is going to happen the second half of 2015, but everything is market and price range specific. So if you have questions, call me, 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. Have a great weekend.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning from 8 till 9. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.